And we're kicking off with the housing crisis, which of course isn't an abstract problem, particularly for families in West Clare. Indeed, it's a daily nightmare. That's according to one Kilmihil resident who I have been speaking with. Gerry Johnston says years of delays and broken promises around basic infrastructure have left over 100 homes stuck on paper. From stalled wastewater upgrades to mounting frustration with political inaction, Gerry sees the crisis firsthand in his own community, and he's calling for urgent practical solutions now, not in another decade or perhaps even more. Here's my conversation with Gerry Johnston. Gerry, a very good morning to you.
Thank you, Alan, for having me.
No, we're delighted to have you in because you want to talk about the housing crisis and your perspective on it. I mean, it is something that has been in Ireland for quite some time. It's talked about on a daily basis in some shape or form. You've described it as a daily nightmare for families living in Kilmihil. So can you give us a sense of what that looks like day to day in Kilmihil?
Well, Alan, I suppose to start off, I'm third generation in Kilmihil, working and living there today, so I would have a good background of Kilmihil. In 2008, we started off with this crisis of wastewater treatment plant was not sufficient. For example, I put in for 5 houses back in 2008, and I got a one-liner back from the council to say, due to the no capacity in the wastewater plant, they couldn't grant permission. So now we're 2026, 18 years later, and I'm still talking about the same thing.
Yeah, the wastewater infrastructure seems to be a major bottleneck, and it wouldn't just be Kilmihil where that is an issue. And that plant extension was announced in 2022. You're still waiting on it. How is it impacting local housing developments?
When you mentioned 22, I mean, we had lots of announcements that the sewerage in Kilmihil was finally going ahead and it would be finished by 25. And now we're here today and still no shovel on the ground.
Been told it'd be finished by last year, still no shovel in the ground. And can you walk us through some of the developments in Kilmihil that are stalled because of wastewater delays, or even your own project?
Yeah, well, sure, look at, there's 50 villages. I'm not just fighting for Kilmihil here today, I'm fighting for all the villages and towns in Ireland. It's so serious. The government are there and they're saying the housing crisis is the number one issue for the council. And yet, they don't seem to understand that there will be 100 houses probably built in every village of those 50. And no, I'm wrong, but half of them are villages, so we'd have 25 villages and bigger towns. So if you do the calculation, 50 by 100, that's 5,000 alone in Clare. Multiply that by 26 counties, you're now talking about 130,000 houses, with no cost to the council. The developers or the private people who want to build houses will fund them, and the families will get a home, and it's a win-win for everybody.
And as you've touched on, it's not just an issue in Kilmihil or Clare, it's nationwide, but I think, is it around 100 houses in Kilmihil ready to go, but they're on hold? And how is that affecting families who are trying to find homes now?
Well, sure, they can't buy them in Kilmihil. I mean, there was 10 private houses sold in Kilmihil before Christmas in a space of 6 months. So people cannot say that there's not a demand for houses. There's a demand for houses in every village and every town. But it was just a wastewater treatment plant has been the problem.
You are coming here, not just highlighting these issues, but with potential solutions as well. And you've suggested creating a new company that could help speed up housing infrastructure. So can you tell us a little bit more about your idea, Gerry, and how you think it would help alleviate this issue, particularly in relation to wastewater infrastructure?
Yeah. Well, when you look around and see what's happening, and I've been a rep on the road as well, travelling the country, and you learn a lot from travelling. But first of all, Kanchanachitkhamma are doing a great job. So why do the government not realise that if they could form another company, just call it whatever, Wastewater Ireland, and fund that and run it beside Kanchanachitkhamma and try and catch up in the deadlock that's going on. I mean, I'll give you one more issue, right? If I was from Milton Malbay, I would be really, really concerned, right? Because Milton Malbay now is graded an RC5. What that means is the earliest starting date Milton Malbay will get will be 2030. I'm not a doubting Thomas, but we've heard so many dates before. I'm sure that'll go past 2030. So they probably will not see a wastewater treatment plant in a really good tourist town in Ireland until 2040. So are they going to have to wait 14 years for a treatment plant so houses can be built in Milton Malbay?
This idea, this concept you've come up with of an additional company to deal with the wastewater infrastructure, Wastewater Ireland, for want of a better title, how would that work in practice alongside Uisce Éireann? And would you be concerned that there might be potential crossover, or would that all have to be worked out prior to its establishment?
Not just the current Uisce Éireann company, or we'll call it the Wastewater Ireland company, but the council will have to sit down as well. It can't be too difficult. Divide the country, divide the area. You'll do that, the bottom half, I'll do the top half. God almighty. For me, looking on, it doesn't seem that difficult if they have the will to do it, and if the government have the interest in doing it. And this is their crisis, the housing. The government have a sinking fund, right? They have a rainy day fund. These people of Ireland are sinking. What they need is to help them. And get the second company up and running, or else do something further with Uisce Éireann and solve the bloody mess we're in with the housing crisis.
And I think you're touching on something there in terms of responding very quickly. It has been mentioned before that the government was able to respond immediately to the COVID pandemic, which was a national and international emergency. And it has been said by others that the housing crisis should be treated as such, but it hasn't been up to this point. What's your take on that?
So that's what I can't understand at all. The government are suffering. They're suffering on the polls. They're the lowest at their Fianna Fáil are at their lowest point.
15%.
15% is right. Now, there's one way to help the people and get them houses and use the money that they're keeping for the rainy and sinking or whatever they call it, and use it for what it's really required for. The number one crisis is housing. Go and form a second company if you have to, and just get it built and put people in there.
Some of these houses could be built at no cost to the Exchequer, funded by homeowners, which is something you have floated. Can you explain, Gerry, how that model would work and why it's viable?
Well, if I want to build my 5 houses, I have to fund them. I have to get my mortgage and go and fund them. And there's no draw on the government. They're just getting money for planning and making money out of it and giving homes to people that need it. It's a clear-cut issue. But the whole thing comes back to the same thing. The wastewater treatment plants are not good enough in Ireland. 50 towns, villages, suffering right now.
What would you like to see done in terms of politicians' approach to solving this crisis? And the government, late last year announcing significant funding for projects that would deal with our infrastructural deficits. Do you like what you see in that? Do you think that will go any way to addressing the issues that you're chatting about with me today?
Well, I think there should be some kind of a independent board or committee formed. If you could have probably business people, 3 or 4 business people spread around the country, they would get together, like the lads done with the GA, Jim Gavin and Colm Collins and those boys, form a committee like that to sit down with Uisce Éireann, sit down with the council, sit down. But one of the good news is that Sinead O'Donoghue is now new housing activation officer. So this is kind of stuff I'm talking about. Someone like her with 2 or 3 more people with her with different views, sit down, try and work it out. What do we do? And come and get a plan together. Form this new company that's going to work beside the Uisce Éireann or dictate to Uisce Éireann what's going on. Or just more clarity in the whole thing.
Just finally, Gerry, would you be optimistic, taking a glass half full rather than half empty approach to all of what we've been chatting about? Do you see any of this realistically happening, and if so, happening, you mentioned timelines, potentially 2040 earlier on. Do you envisage any of it happening, if it does, in the expedient time frame you would hope?
Well, again, I want to, while I sound very negative, I want to be positive on this one. Ishke along with the European Union, had a 20 million investment in Ireland on the wastewater treatment, and Kilmihil was one of the 12 selected. So I think and I believe that we're at the final stages of our treatment plant in Kilmihil. No, but like I doubt in Thomas again, until I see it done, I won't believe it. But at least the news I'm getting is probably good news on that front. So, I mean, we just need to concentrate on the wastewater treatment plants and get them sorted out, and the government to put some of the money they're banking away for other days into this. It's just as important as COVID was. It's just as important as anything that we ever had in Ireland. So I appeal to government and to all the parties involved to get together and try and work something to speed up this wastewater treatment plant.
Okay, well, we'll leave it there. Gerry Johnston, thank you very much for joining me in studio.
Thank you, Ellen.